My mom used my loved one's death to attack me at the lowest moment of my life. So I finally reported my sister's years-long HIPAA violations, and now I'm terrified I didn't deliver justice. I just invited karma to come for me next. I'm 28, and I come from a family so toxic it feels like breathing secondhand smoke. I've been completely no contact with my sister Bella, 27, for years. No big dramatic blowout. Just years of cruelty, manipulation, and boundary stomping that finally broke something in me. There's no fixing it. I don't want to fix it. And with my mom, 53, I keep things surface level and on my own terms because she's just as toxic, just in a different flavor. But even with the distance I try to keep, my mom refuses to stop dragging me back into their dysfunction. She updates me on Bella constantly, her life, her job, her drama, who she's dating, what she's doing. I've told her over and over. I don't want to know. I don't care. Stop telling me. She just pretends she didn't hear it. What's been gnawing at me for years is that Bella works as a nurse at the county jail, and she regularly shares confidential inmate information with my mom. Things she could only know through her job. Medical details, arrests, personal histories, stuff that is absolutely not supposed to leave that building. And of course, my mom repeats it all to me, even though I'm practically begging her not to. It makes my skin crawl. It feels unethical, illegal, and honestly disgusting. I don't want to know these people's private medical info. I don't want anything that comes from my sister's mouth. But every time I talk to my mom, she just drops another story, like she's giving me celebrity gossip. The things my mom tells me, unprompted, unwanted, and honestly unbelievable, are so blatant that I'm shocked my sister hasn't already lost her job or faced legal trouble. She'll casually say things like, "Oh, did you know so-and-so got booked in last night?" Bella drew his blood before they even finished processing him. And I'll just sit there thinking, how do you not realize how illegal this is? My mom will go into detail about conversations my sister supposedly has with inmates during medical procedures, word-for-word recounts of private discussions they had while she was literally treating them. Graphic descriptions, personal stories, and medical details that should never leave the jail clinic. It's not just medical stuff either. It's entire histories. She's repeated things to my mom about inmates' cases, their families, their trauma, their charges, their secrets. One time, my mom told me, in full confidence, every detail of a man's 20-plus-year work history because Bella recognized his name and knew he used to work in corrections. According to Bella, that's why they kept his sex offenses hush-hush. Listening to that made me sick. But the worst one? The one that made my stomach drop? My mom told me not to go to a specific coffee shop because the guy who works there has AIDS. I was stunned into silence. I asked her how she would even know that. She said, "I just know." I pushed. "Did Bella tell you?" And she caved instantly. She described the guy in full detail, appearance, job, timeline of diagnosis. All of it. My sister, a nurse, shared someone's private medical condition with our mother, who then spread it further to me like she was warning me about bad weather. I told my mom it was messed up. Deeply, seriously messed up. Illegal. Immoral. Beyond unacceptable. I said my sister was stupid for telling her anything, and she was even stupider for gossiping about it. Every time something like this happens, I tell her it's wrong. I tell her Bella is violating people's privacy and their basic human rights. My mom doesn't care. She just waves me off like I'm being dramatic. And here's the part that eats at me. I've never reported it. Not once. Not because I think it's okay, God, it makes my skin crawl, but because I hate drama.
I don't want to get involved.
I cut my sister off for a reason, and I don't want to drag myself back into her mess. I don't want retaliation, or my mom blowing up my life, or my entire family turning this into another circus. Today was the breaking point, at least emotionally. A little less than 2 weeks ago, I lost someone who was truly family to me. She wasn't my biological parent, but she was the person who showed up for me, loved me, guided me, and saw me through some of the darkest chapters of my life. She'd been in my world since I was 14. Half my life. And then one morning she just didn't wake up. I didn't tell my mom. Not because I wanted to hide anything, but because I knew exactly what she'd do with that information. Twist it, center herself, make it ugly. There was no point. My mom has bipolar I, diagnosed, and absolutely refuses medication now, and she exhibits every unchecked, textbook sign of borderline personality disorder. She denies that part, of course. She denies everything. But everyone close to her knows the truth. She is chaos with a pulse. So today, when I mentioned I'd be in town for a funeral and casually added who I lost, It was like lighting a match in a room that's been soaked in gasoline for decades. My mom immediately launched into an attack. She called my other parent a piece of shit I won't miss, a drunken whore, and acted disgusted that I ever loved her or referred to her as a second parent. My mom met her maybe twice. She knew nothing about her. Not her kindness, not her sacrifices, not the love she gave me without condition, something my mom never managed. I stayed calm. I stayed respectful. I defended the woman who actually earned the title of parent in my life, even if biology didn't match. But inside, something cracked. Something tired. Something done. And here's the thing people don't understand unless they've survived someone like my mother. This isn't new behavior. This is a lifetime pattern. She calls it tough love, but it's more like you hurt me, so I'll scorch the earth around you. Retaliation packaged as parenting. Growing up, she called the police on me constantly. Not because I was dangerous, because it was convenient, because it gave her control. She actually took my purse to a police station once and told them it had drugs in it. It did. I won't pretend I was innocent. What I was doing was wrong. But what kind of mother seeks out an opportunity to get her own child arrested? What kind of mother is eager to make her kid hit rock bottom? When I was 18, my mother officially trespassed me from the family home. Not metaphorically, she actually had the sheriff's office serve me with eviction papers at the house I grew up in. One minute I was her child. The next I was legally a stranger on the property. I remember standing outside with my dog and a garbage bag of clothes, feeling like the world had tilted off its axis. I had no phone, no money, no plan. I ended up sleeping on a park bench for a week, curled around my dog, trying to keep us both warm and alive while I figured out my next move. The only reason I survived that period was because of the woman I just lost, my other parent. When I finally managed to reach her, she didn't ask questions, didn't judge, didn't lecture. She just came and got me. She moved me into her tiny apartment, bought me clothes, a bed, toiletries, everything I needed to feel like a human being again. And this is the part that still hits me hard. She didn't have anything. She was struggling financially, in a way my biological mother never had to. But somehow she found the money, the energy, the love. She gave me what she didn't even have herself. Meanwhile, my mother, who had the financial stability and the support of my father's upper-middle-class income, used her resources to throw me out, to break me, to teach me a lesson. And she didn't just do this to me. My brothers were put through the same hell. She would call the cops on them constantly, sometimes multiple times a week, to report weed in their car. It got so ridiculous that the police eventually refused to search them anymore. The officers would show up, look at her with that tired, seriously expression, and decline. They knew she was abusing the system to punish her own kids. These weren't isolated incidents. This was her pattern. Her parenting style was basically, if I can hurt you enough, embarrass you enough, or ruin enough aspects of your life, maybe you'll grow from it. And she wraps all of it, every twisted, out-of-her-way effort to sabotage us, in the shiny packaging of tough love. Even now, she talks proudly about it. She'll say, "It hurt me more than it hurt you," or "It was so hard to make those decisions as a mother." And then she'll follow it up with, "But it made you stronger. It made you successful. You should be grateful." Grateful. For homelessness. For arrest records. For trauma disguised as discipline. Hearing her justify those moments now, with a straight face, is surreal. It's like listening to someone describe a completely fictional version of my life. In her mind, she's the hero, the martyr, the brave mother who sacrificed her own heart to give her children structure. And if we dare challenge her narrative, if we point out the actual consequences of her actions, she accuses us of being dramatic, ungrateful, disrespectful. The thing is, my mother has always been obsessed with accountability, but only when it comes to everyone else. She weaponizes that word. She uses it like a shield and a sword. She has never once held herself accountable for anything she's done to us. Not the arrests, not the eviction, not the manipulation, not the cruelty. Instead, she rewrites history so she can sleep at night. I usually deal with my mother's outbursts the same way I deal with a stranger screaming at pigeons in a parking lot, through the lens of mental illness, not logic. My brother and I figured out years ago that trying to reason with her was pointless. The only way to survive her is emotional detachment. So after today's initial explosion, I was ready to just disengage, breathe, and move on. But then she crossed a line so deep it felt like the floor opened under me. She texted me and said she already knew my other parent had passed as soon as it happened. Then, Out of absolutely nowhere, she added that I should have been the one taking care of her, so that her son wasn't the one who had to find her dead. I swear, I felt my stomach drop, because that detail, who found her, was not public, not online, not talked about, not shared with anyone outside the immediate circle. Only one person could have told my mother anything that quickly, or had access to those kinds of details. My sister, the one who works at the county jail and has been illegally spilling confidential information for years. Realizing that in real time was like feeling a fuse burn down inside me. Not only did my mother take something sacred, fragile, and devastating, and use it as a weapon, but she knew about the death of a woman who practically raised me and didn't even check in. Not once. She waited until she could use the information to hurt me. And she did it with details she had no right to know. That was the moment something in me clicked into place. A kind of quiet, cold clarity. So instead of blowing up, instead of matching her cruelty with my own, I responded calmly. Almost eerily calmly. I told her I was thankful for her, thankful for everything she taught me. Especially the most important lesson she hammered into me my whole life, that accountability matters. I told her that when someone breaks the law, you have to report it. That when someone violates professional ethics or privacy, you can't just let it slide. That accountability is what keeps people safe. That even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, you report the wrongdoing anyway. Even if it's someone you love. I could practically feel her freeze through the phone. Because she knew exactly what I meant. For years she weaponized accountability against her own children, calling the cops on us, dragging us through consequences that were often disproportionate or malicious. And now she's faced with the idea that her own daughter learned that lesson a little too well. That if accountability is such a sacred principle, it applies to her child too, in ways she never expected. After that final text from my mom, the one where she weaponized the death of someone I loved and repeated details she had absolutely no right to know, I felt something inside me snap into a kind of cold clarity. It wasn't rage, exactly. It was that feeling you get when you're sliding off a cliff and suddenly decide you're done holding on. So I told her, just as calmly as I could, that HIPAA is federal law. That Bella has been violating it for years. That every time she shared confidential inmate information, every time she fed my mother these details, medical, legal, personal, she broke that law again and again. And that I was done covering for her. I told her I wasn't doing Bella any favors by staying silent, and if accountability is as important as she's preached my entire life, then this is me doing the right thing. My mother immediately tried to belittle me, called my logic bad, said I was overreacting, all her usual deflections. I didn't respond, because I was already too busy filing a HIPAA complaint. Not a vague one, not a petty one. A fully documented, dated, detailed report of every single incident I could remember. Years' worth of violations. Every inmate she gossiped about. Every medical detail she spilled. Every name, every situation, every disgusting breach of privacy. And the entire time I felt sick. Because even though I don't speak to my sister, and honestly never will, I don't want her life destroyed. I don't wish her harm. And it feels grimy that the trigger wasn't some grand moral epiphany but raw, fresh emotion. I reacted because my mother stabbed me where I was most vulnerable, and in that moment, I stopped caring about protecting anyone who had hurt me. Part of me hates that. Part of me hates them for putting me in this position. Because the truth is, Bella has been violating HIPAA for years. Truly violating it. Blabbing private information about inmates, medical records, blood tests, charges, things she should have guarded with her job and her license. I didn't fabricate a single word in that report. It was all the truth. Ugly truth. But I still feel torn. Maybe nothing will come of it. She's always bragged that the deputies protect her, that her husband's job at the sheriff's department keeps her safe from consequences. Maybe the complaint will get buried under good old boy politics and small-town corruption. Maybe she'll never even know it was me. And I don't know how I feel about that either. Half of me hopes something finally forces her to stop abusing her position. Half of me feels guilty because, whether she's awful or not, she's still human, and this could ruin her. And then there's the part of me that hates drama, hates conflict, and has spent my whole life trying not to escalate chaos, even when chaos was my family's default language. But this wasn't just petty drama. This wasn't harmless gossip. This was illegal, reckless, and cruel. And in the middle of my grief, they used someone I loved as ammunition. So yeah, I'm torn. I acted emotionally, but also ethically. I did the right thing, but maybe not for the perfectly righteous reason. So now I'm sitting here wondering, Am I the a-hole for finally reporting a years-long HIPAA violation, even if part of me only did it because I was hurt?